You see a lot of old stuff come through my shop. Old guns, old books, you name it. But some of the most interesting things are the smallest. I'm talking about coins. A coin isn't just a piece of metal, it's a piece of history you can hold in your hand. It tells you who was in charge, what they believed in, and what was important to them. And when it comes to history, you don't get much bigger than the Ottoman Empire. This empire was a world power for over 600 years. They controlled huge parts of Europe, Asia, and Africa. It was a crossroads of the world. Think about that for a second. 6 centuries. That's longer than the United States has been a country, by a long shot. The Ottomans had incredible art, powerful armies, and a system of trade that stretched across continents, and to make all that work, they needed money. Lots of it. Their coins are like a timeline of the empire itself. Each one tells a small part of a much bigger story. You can see the empire rise, watch it become a global superpower, and then see the struggles it faced near the end. It's all stamped right there in silver and gold. When someone brings an old coin into the shop, the first thing I do is look at it. Really look at it. You see the name of a sultan who lived hundreds of years ago. You see designs and symbols that meant something powerful to the people who used that coin every day. They used it to buy bread, to pay soldiers, to build the amazing mosques you can still see today. These weren't just collector's items back then. This was real money, used by real people, and that connection to the past is what makes this stuff so cool. So, we're going to take a journey. We're going to look at the fascinating world of Ottoman coins. We'll start at the very beginning, when the empire was just a small state trying to make its mark. We'll see how their money changed as the empire grew and became more powerful. We'll talk about the different metals they used, the beautiful designs they created, and why some of these coins are incredibly rare and valuable today. It's a story of power, art, and money. And like any good story, it's full of surprises. So stick with me, because this is a piece of history you won't want to miss. Every great power needs its own money. It's a symbol of independence. It tells the world, we're in charge here. In the early days, back in the late 1200s and early 1300s, the Ottomans were a small but growing state. They were led by a guy named Osman I, where the name Ottoman comes from. At that time, they were using coins from other bigger empires in the area, like the Byzantines and the Ilkhanids. Using someone else's money is fine when you're small. But Osman and his son, Orhan, had bigger plans. They weren't content to just be another small player on the map. So, around the year 1326, Orhan Ghazi made a big move. He decided it was time for the Ottomans to have their own coins. This was a huge statement. It was like planting a flag. He ordered the minting of the very first Ottoman coin, a small silver piece called the akçe. By doing this, he was declaring economic and political independence. He was telling everyone that the Ottomans were a serious power, a sultanate with its own authority, and they weren't going anywhere. This first coin was more than just currency. It was a declaration of a new era. The design of these first coins was pretty simple. You have to remember, they were just starting out. They didn't have huge, sophisticated mints yet. The first akçe usually had Orhan's name and the name of his father, Osman, on it. It also had the date it was minted and the place where it was made, which was usually Bursa, their new capital. And very importantly, it included Islamic phrases, like a declaration of faith. This showed that the new empire was not just a political power, but a defender and promoter of the Islamic faith. It set the tone for centuries to come. Making your own coins also solves a very practical problem. When you're growing, you need a reliable source of money to pay for things. You need to pay your soldiers, your administrators, and the people building your new cities. Relying on foreign currency is risky. Its value can change, or your enemies could cut off the supply. By minting their own akçe, the Ottomans took control of their own economy. They could guarantee a standard weight and purity of silver, which builds trust. People knew they could rely on an Ottoman coin, and that trust is the foundation of any strong economy. For about 150 years, the little silver akçe was the backbone of the Ottoman economy. It was the coin of the people. It was used for everything, from daily shopping in the marketplace to paying taxes. The government worked hard to keep the silver content pure, which made the akçe a trusted currency not just inside the empire, but with its trading partners too. But as the Ottoman Empire grew, its ambitions grew as well. After Sultan Mehmed II, the guy they call the Conqueror, captured Constantinople in 1453, the Ottomans were no longer just a regional power, they were a world empire. With this new status came the need for a new kind of money. A big-time empire needs a big-time coin. You can't conduct massive international trade with just a small silver coin. You need gold. So, Mehmed the Conqueror introduced the first Ottoman gold coin, the Sultani. This was a game-changer. The Sultani was modeled on the famous Venetian ducat, which was the international currency of its day, kind of like the US dollar is today. By making a gold coin of similar weight and purity, Mehmed was putting the Ottoman Empire on the same level as the great powers of Europe. The introduction of the Sultani created a two-metal, or bimetallic, currency system. You had the gold Sultani for large transactions, international trade, and big government payments. Then, you had the silver akçe for everyday life. This system gave the economy a lot of flexibility. Different denominations of silver and copper coins were also made for smaller purchases. It was a sophisticated system for its time. However, managing the values of gold and silver against each other was always a challenge. The price of these metals on the world market could change, and the sultans often had to adjust the weight of the coins to keep the system stable. Over time, the famous akçe started to have problems. As the empire faced wars and economic challenges, some sultans were tempted to debase the currency. That means they would reduce the amount of silver in each coin, mixing in cheaper metals. This would allow them to mint more coins to pay their bills, but it destroyed people's trust. The value of the akçe dropped, and severe inflation hit the empire. Eventually, the akçe became so small and worthless that it was replaced by a larger silver coin called the para, and later, the kurush. This story of the rise and fall of the akçe is a classic lesson in economics that we still see today. When you look at Ottoman coins across the centuries, you're not just looking at money, you're looking at a 600-year history of art and design. The earliest coins like Orhan's akçe were very simple. They were mostly text. They had the Sultan's name, the mint location, and religious phrases written in beautiful Arabic script. The calligraphy itself was the art. There were no pictures of people. Islamic tradition generally discourages showing human figures, especially on something as official as a coin. So, for centuries, the main artistic element was the elegant and flowing script. As the empire became richer and more confident, especially after the conquest of Constantinople, the coins became more elaborate. The quality of the minting improved. The lettering became more stylish and complex. Under powerful sultans like Suleiman the Magnificent, who ruled during the empire's golden age, the coins were masterpieces of design. The mints were producing coins that were perfectly round, with sharp, clear inscriptions. They were a symbol of the empire's power, wealth, and artistic sophistication. You can just feel the pride and confidence of the empire when you hold one of these coins. The designs weren't just for looks. They were full of meaning. Besides the Sultan's name, the coins often had his titles, like Sultan of the Two Lands and Ruler of the Two Seas, referring to their control over lands in Europe and Asia and the Black and Mediterranean Seas. The location of the mint was also very important. The empire had mints all over, from Cairo in Egypt to Tunis in North Africa to Constantinople, which they renamed Islambol, meaning City of Islam. A coin from a faraway mint was proof of the Sultan's vast reach. It was a reminder that his authority was recognized hundreds or even thousands of miles away. Later on, in the 18th and 19th centuries, you start to see more European influence on the designs. The Ottoman Empire was interacting more with the West, and this was reflected in their money. The coins started to look a bit more like their European counterparts. The script became more standardized, and sometimes you'd see more decorative elements, like wreaths and stars around the text. This was a period of reform and modernization in the empire, and the coins changed along with it. They were trying to project an image of a modern, organized state, and their currency was a key part of that message. One of the most amazing and unique features of an Ottoman coin is the is not just a bunch of fancy squiggles, it's the official signature or monogram of the ruling sultan. Every single sultan had his own unique sign, and it was a powerful symbol of his authority. It appeared on all official documents, on monuments, and most importantly, on the coins. When you saw the white, you knew the coin was official and backed by the full power of the sultan. It's kind of like having the president's signature on every dollar bill, but, honestly, way more artistic. The design of the is really clever. It combines the Sultan's name, his father's name, and his title, always victorious, into one complex calligraphic design. It has a very specific structure, and there are 2 loops on the left, 3 vertical lines in the middle, and 2 curving lines that sweep out to the right. It's a beautiful and intricate piece of art, but it's also a brand. It was the official logo of the Sultan's reign. Each new Sultan would have a master calligrapher design anew for him when he took the throne, and that design would be used for his entire rule. Finding a clear, well struck on a coin is something collectors get really excited about. On older hand-hammered coins, the strike might be off-center or weak, so parts of the could be missing. A coin with a full crisp is not only more beautiful, but it's often more valuable. It's actually the first thing I look for on an Ottoman coin. Because each sultan had a different, it's the easiest way to identify who was in charge when the coin was made. It's like a key that unlocks the coin's specific place in history. The evolved over time, just like the rest of the coin's design. The early ones were simpler, but by the time of Suleiman the Magnificent, they had become incredibly ornate and complex. Later on, in the 19th and early 20th centuries, they became a little more streamlined and uniform, reflecting the modernizing trends of the era. But the basic form remained the same for 600 years. It's really one of the most enduring symbols of the Ottoman Empire. When you see Ai Cha, you are looking at the personal mark of one of the most powerful men in the world at that time. That's pretty cool. In the world of coin collecting, one word matters more than almost any other rarity. What makes one coin worth a few bucks and another worth thousands? A lot of it comes down to how many were made and how many survived. With Ottoman coins, rarity can be caused by a lot of different things. Sometimes, a sultan had a very short reign. If a sultan was only on the throne for a few months or a year, his mints wouldn't have had time to produce many coins with his tugra on them. These short-reign coins are always in high demand, because so few exist. Wars and sieges also created a lot of rare and interesting coins. When a city was under siege, it was cut off from the rest of the empire. But the soldiers defending the city still needed to be paid. Sometimes, a local commander would melt down silver or gold objects, plates, jewelry, whatever they could find, and mint emergency siege coins. These were often crudely made and had unusual designs, but they served their purpose. Because they were made in small numbers under desperate conditions, these siege coins are incredibly rare and tell a dramatic story of survival and conflict. Economic crises were another major reason for rarity. I mentioned how the silver akçe was debased over time. During these periods of high inflation, the government would often recall the old, pure silver coins and melt them down to make more of the new, debased coins. This means that huge numbers of older, higher quality coins were destroyed forever. So, a coin that might have been very common in its day can become extremely rare centuries later, simply because most of them were melted down by the government itself. It's a classic case of the past being erased. Finally, some coins are rare simply because of where they were minted. The Ottoman Empire was huge, with mints scattered all over. The big central mints in Constantinople or Cairo produced millions of coins, but a small provincial mint in a distant part of the empire might have only operated for a short time, or produced a small number of coins for local use. A coin from one of these small, obscure mints can be much rarer than a coin from the capital, even if it's from the same sultan in the same year. For specialists, tracking down coins from every single Ottoman mint is the ultimate challenge. Every rare coin has a story. Sometimes we know the story, and sometimes we have to piece it together like a detective. One of the most famous stories involves a coin that, for a long time, people thought didn't even exist. Historians knew that the very first Ottoman ruler, Osman I, was the founder of the dynasty. But for centuries, no one had ever found a coin with his name on it. The first known coins were from his son, Orhan. So, the experts assumed Osman never minted any coins. It was a settled fact. Then, one day, it all changed. A collector and scholar was looking through a pile of old common coins and saw something incredible. It was a small silver coin that looked like the early coins of Orhan. But when he looked closer at the inscription, he was stunned. The name on the coin wasn't Orhan, it was Osman, son of Ertuğrul. It was the first ever confirmed coin of Osman I himself. This single discovery completely rewrote the history books. It proved that the Ottoman state had declared its sovereignty earlier than anyone thought. It's the kind of discovery that collectors dream of. Another fascinating area is error coins. Just like in modern mints, things could go wrong in the Ottoman mints. Sometimes a coin would be struck with two different dies, creating a mule coin with the front of one coin type and the back of another. Or a die would crack, leaving a raised line on every coin it struck. Or the date might be engraved incorrectly. These mistakes were usually caught and destroyed, but a few always slipped out. For a collector, an error coin is a fantastic find. It's unique, it's rare, and it gives you a behind-the-scenes look at the minting process from hundreds of years ago. Sometimes, entire hordes of coins are found. A person might have buried their life savings to protect them from an invading army, and then never came back for them. Centuries later, a farmer plowing a field or a construction crew digging a foundation might stumble upon a clay pot filled with hundreds or thousands of gold and silver coins. These hoards are a treasure trove for historians and collectors. They provide a perfect snapshot of the coins that were circulating in a specific place at a specific time. And for the person who finds it, well, it's like winning the lottery. It's a direct link to the past, and it's a life-changing discovery. So, how do people get into collecting Ottoman coins today? Well, it's easier than you might think. Thanks to the internet, you don't have to travel to Istanbul to find them. There are online auctions, dealers who specialize in Islamic coins, and collector forums where people buy, sell, and trade. The great thing about Ottoman coins is that there's something for every budget. You can buy a common, late-period copper or silver coin for just a few dollars. It's a great way to start and to hold a real piece of history in your hand without breaking the bank. Of course, as you get more serious, the thrill of the hunt begins. Collectors often specialize. Some try to get one coin from every sultan. That's a huge challenge, especially with those short-reign rulers we talked about. Others might focus on a specific time period, like the age of Suleiman the Magnificent, or they might try to collect coins from as many different mints as possible. This is where the real knowledge and passion come in. You have to learn how to read the Arabic script, how to identify the tukhras, and how to spot the subtle differences that make a coin common or rare. A big part of collecting is grading and authentication. Just like with any valuable collectible, there are fakes out there. Learning to spot a fake is a critical skill. You look at the style of the calligraphy, the weight and metal of the coin, and the signs of age and wear. Many serious collectors will only buy coins that have been slabbed, which means they've been authenticated and graded by a professional third-party service. This gives you peace of mind that you're buying the real deal. When someone brings a rare coin into my shop, the first thing I do is check to see if it's genuine. But for most collectors, it's not just about the money, it's about the connection to the past. When you hold an Ottoman gold sultani, you can imagine it being used by a Venetian merchant to buy spices in Constantinople. When you hold a silver akçe, you can picture it in the pocket of a Janissary soldier or a woman shopping in a crowded bazaar. These coins passed through so many hands and witnessed so much history. They are tangible links to a world that is long gone. For a history buff, that's the real treasure. It's about owning and saving a small piece of a magnificent story. When you lay out a collection of Ottoman coins, you're not just looking at a pile of old money. You're looking at a 600-year saga. It's the story of a small tribe that grew into one of the most powerful and long-lasting empires in world history. The coins are the primary documents of that story. They are the witnesses. They tell us about the rise of great sultans, the conquest of legendary cities, and the golden ages of art and culture. They are small metal discs, but they carry the weight of an entire civilization. It's history, economics, and art all rolled into one. The legacy of these coins is huge. For economists, they provide a centuries-long case study in how to run, and how not to run, a monetary system. You can track the effects of inflation, the challenges of a bimetallic standard, and the economic consequences of wars and political instability. The rise and fall of the silver akçe is a lesson that is as relevant today as it was 500 years ago. It shows that the foundation of a strong economy is trust in its currency. Once that trust is gone, it's very hard to get back. For art lovers and calligraphers, the coins are a museum of design. The evolution of the Arabic script and the incredible artistry of the tughra are a testament to the skills of the Ottoman die engravers. They had to create beautiful, intricate, and legible designs on a tiny canvas. It's a unique art form that reached its peak under the Ottomans. Many of these coins are quite simply beautiful objects. They are miniature masterpieces that were designed for mass production, which is an incredible achievement. You can appreciate them for their beauty even if you don't know a thing about their history. So, the next time you see an old, strange-looking coin in a museum or at a flea market, take a closer look. It might just be a piece of the Ottoman Empire. It might have the tugra of a famous sultan, or come from a long-lost city. These coins are more than just collector's items. They are storytellers. They connect us to the vast and vibrant world of the Ottomans, an empire that shaped our modern world in countless ways. And the best part is, there are still discoveries to be made and stories to be told. The hunt is still on, and that's what keeps history exciting. That's what makes it real.